All right, today we're diving into something pretty amazing, a map to the deepest parts of the human soul, written all the way back in the 16th century. Saint Teresa of Avila, a mystic, talked about this ultimate destination she called the seventh mansion. She said it's a place of, well, profound union with the divine. So let's see what she found, shall we? So Teresa kicks things off with this really powerful idea. She asks us to imagine something. What if your soul wasn't just this vague, fuzzy concept? What if it was actually a huge, intricate castle filled with all these different rooms? That's the core metaphor she uses, and it's our guide for this journey into our own inner world. A journey right to its very center. Okay, so we're going to focus on the final stop on this inner journey, the seventh mansion. Now, this isn't just any old room in the castle. No way. Teresa describes it as the most sacred space you can possibly imagine, a place that God, reserves just for himself. And it's right there inside the human soul. Let's unpack what that really means. And what's wild is that even Teresa herself, the person who literally experienced all of this and wrote it down, she was completely humbled by it. You can really feel her awe and even a little bit of hesitation in this quote. I mean, she felt like this was a subject that was almost too big, too profound to even talk about. And honestly, that just makes what she has to say even more powerful. So, what is the seventh mansion exactly? Well, according to Teresa, it's the absolute, most central, innermost chamber of that soul castle we were talking about. And it's not a place where God just, stops by for a visit. Nope. It's where God dwells. She actually calls it a second heaven. Think about that. A little piece of heaven right inside of us. But, to really get what happens inside this final mansion, we kind of have to look at what comes before. We need to understand the state of a soul before it gets there. And Teresa, she paints this really stark, really powerful picture of what that's like. Life without this divine connection. She calls it a soul in darkness. The metaphor she goes with is, well, it's intense. She compares it to being a prisoner. Just imagine that for a second. You're trapped. You know there's light. You know there's freedom out there somewhere, but you are completely unable to reach it. You can't even see it. That's how she describes a soul that hasn't made it to this final stage yet. And yeah, she does not hold back on the details at all. This quote is just so vivid. She says these souls are locked up in a gloomy dungeon. They're chained hand and foot, totally helpless and completely cut off, blind and dumb. They're just powerless. And right here, you can actually see the original text where she gets that powerful imagery from. This is the exact passage where she lays out that whole metaphor of the imprisoned soul. It's pretty cool to get a direct look into her writing from all the way back then. Now, here's a really important point. This isn't just about sin, okay? Teresa's talking about something much deeper, a whole state of being. It's a condition where the soul is just incapable of receiving the light. And the crazy part is, that light is already there, it's present, just waiting to be seen. Okay, so now we get to the heart of it all. What actually happens when a soul is finally brought into the seventh mansion? This is where Teresa describes what she calls the divine union. It's the moment this whole mystical experience really, truly unfolds. She has a special name for this experience, the spiritual nuptials. Basically, a spiritual marriage. It's that moment of complete, total union between the soul and God. And yeah, that marriage analogy is totally intentional. It's meant to signify this permanent, intimate, completely life-altering bond. So, how does this whole divine union thing actually happen? Well, Teresa breaks it down into 3 steps. First, she says a dazzling illumination shines on the spirit. Then, boom, this sublime knowledge of the Holy Trinity, the 3 in 1, is just infused right into the soul. And finally, the 3 persons of the Trinity communicate directly with the soul. No go-betweens, no intermediaries, just direct contact. And she is super clear about this. This is not some dream. It's not an imaginary vision or hallucination. It is a direct, undeniable certainty. It's a kind of seeing, but it doesn't use the eyes of your body or even what she calls the eyes of the soul. It's a type of perception that goes way beyond our normal senses. Wow. I mean, you can just feel the sheer power of this experience in her words here. She's basically exclaiming, oh my God. The difference between just hearing about this stuff or believing it, and then actually realizing it's true in this direct, overwhelming way, it's just immeasurable. It's like the difference between reading about the Grand Canyon and actually standing on the edge of it.
Now, this incredible experience, it's not just a fleeting moment that's here and gone. No, it causes a permanent transformation. It gives the person a whole new kind of sight. So let's take a look at the lasting effects of this divine union.
And maybe the biggest change of all is this: the soul is never, ever alone again. From that point on, it feels the constant companionship of the Blessed Trinity, dwelling right there in its very center. It's not something you have to try and remember, it's a felt reality, a constant presence. Here's something really interesting: the new kind of clarity this whole thing brings. Before this union, the ideas of soul and spirit can get a little muddled, They can seem kind of the same. But afterwards, the person understands what Teresa calls an extremely subtle distinction between them. She never quite spells out what that distinction is, but it points to this much deeper self-knowledge that comes from the encounter.
So here are some of the other lasting effects. The center of the soul finds its resting place. It just doesn't move. There's this deep stability. And what's funny is, this inner peace actually makes the person more active out in the world, in God's service. She also loses that fear she sometimes had about these spiritual gifts. And inside, it just feels like she's always in a very well-lighted room.
So as we start to wrap this up, it's pretty clear that Teresa's journey into the seventh mansion is way more than just some mystical story. It's really a profound exploration of what a transformed soul looks like. It's a revelation about the incredible interior world that's hidden inside every single one of us. And once again, Teresa brings it all back to humility. Even after describing everything she did, she admits that the mysteries inside us are so huge, so transcendental, that it would just be arrogant, presumptuous for her to even try to explain them all. And I think that really gets to the core takeaway here. For Teresa, the soul is not something petty or insignificant. It's an interior world, and it contains the number of beautiful mansions. It's this incredible space with a divine presence just waiting at its center. It's basically a call for us to see ourselves, to see our inner lives as something truly profound and absolutely worthy of exploring. So really, Teresa's work is a challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge to how we see ourselves. She mapped out this incredible interior world, this castle just full of potential and mystery that exists inside every one of us. Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative question. Teresa wrote about this interior world full of mansions, so what might you find in yours?